What's up guys, it's All Day Anthony and welcome back to the Civic vlog that you hopefully know and hopefully love. And in today's video we are doing some fender rolling on my Honda Civic. Let's get started. Alright guys, welcome back, and I appear to be stopped at some type of Mormon church because I am on my way to get the rear fenders rolled on my Honda Civic. My friend Chris is going to be helping me out with the process, and this is something that I've been kind of dreading now for a while, but it needs to get done. After I got the alignment dialed in the last video, we got the specs dialed in to negative 2.75 in the front and negative 2 in the rear with my Koenig decograms at 15 by 7.5 with a 35 offset. Now the alignment specs are spot on, however, I am still getting some rubbing in the rear of the car. So today we're going to be addressing that by rolling the rear of the fenders, but first I want to talk about why a roll is needed or why it is a thing. Now rolling fenders is nothing new to modifying cars. There's plenty of cars out there that get their fenders rolled because they are running a wider set of wheels or a meatier tire. Now what this means is that on the rear fenders specifically, especially on this model of the Civic, you can see that there is a fender lip right here on the inside of the wheel well. Now that fender lip is there for rigidity purposes and structural purposes, and it's all part of the design, but because of that we are getting not the clearance that we're looking for. We need to get more clearance by rolling that lip up into the body of the car. Now there's a couple ways to handle this. Some people roll the fenders, some people cut the fenders, some people trim them, hammer them, you name it. There's plenty of ways to do this and plenty of janky ways to do this at that. So we are going to be taking the less janky approach to rolling the fenders on my Civic. I want to do this clean and I want to do this right. So we are going to be using a legit fender roller and a heat gun. Now the idea is to heat up that inner fender lip there before rolling it because we want to reduce the chances of the paint cracking. And I say reduce because there is still always a chance. Now here's the deal. There's a risk whenever you roll fenders, and this is a big risk that a lot of people don't take into account for because really all they care about is clearance. I care about clearance and I also care about the look of the car. Now when some people roll their fenders, what ends up happening is when they roll this begins to bow out here or it becomes uneven. It kind of looks like a piece of bacon, if that makes sense. It doesn't look great. So ideally we want to get this to where the body lines are still OEM and still look exactly the same way, but just by rolling in that fender lip. Now on the Civics it is easier because this sheet metal is quite a bit thinner. On my Evo, for example, it's a freaking nightmare and something that I really don't want to have to do because that sheet metal has a couple pinch welds which cause the fender to dive in and basically bow in right here, and it looks pretty damn hideous. So we want to do this the right way. We want to take our time, go slow, heat up each area, and roll a little bit at a time. Now some people will cut a slit on the inside of that fender lip there to basically reduce the tension for a better roll. Some people will do that, and we may have to do that, but we'll kind of have to see once we cross that bridge. But all in all, there's always a risk when it comes to rolling fenders. You need to accept the fact that paint could crack, it could not be perfect, but ultimately what's your goal? My goal is clearance, with looks being a second priority, but it's still pretty high up there. I still want to have good clearance. Now Chris has rolled hundreds and hundreds of fenders. He rolls most of the autocrosses guys fenders that are looking for fitment reasons, but I'm going to tell him specifically, hey Chris, let's try to get this to look as OEM as possible. So that is the goal. Now with that said, we got to hop in the car, head to his house, and I'll see you guys in a minute.
A few moments later.
Alright guys, so just made it over to Chris's house. We got the Civic in the garage, and Chris has one of my favorite garages here in Idaho. You can already see all the cool shit he's got. GTR, RX-7, GS300. Yep, and then a Supra over here, which is one of two Supras, right? Yeah, must be nice, Chris. You're living a really hard life here with all this cool shit. So I want you to walk through, these guys watching right here, what the process is and kind of how we go about doing this.
Fairly easy. We'll get the car up in the air, get the tires off.
Yep.
There's some little rubber trim here. We'll
take
get
the trim off.
Pulled off. Next step, which a lot of folks miss if they haven't done this a lot, I've done this once or twice, is we will thoroughly clean the underside of the lip to make sure there's no rocks on the underside.
Correct, because those will roll in if we roll it correctly.
It'll dent the fender out.
Okay, not ideal. All right.
Yeah, not ideal by any means.
And so I've kind of already given the guys a rundown, right? So most people, when they roll fenders, right, they're going for a fitment, right, for function, right, because they want to have that clearance there, right? But they don't want it result in it looking bad. And I was kind of talking to you about this. Now, there's a lot of ways to not roll fenders, and there's really janky ways to do this, right? So I'm kind of wanting to show people how to do it right, because there's nothing out there on Honda Civic content. I looked to see what's the best way to do this, and there's just nothing. So I'm hoping this is kind of the go-to video. So what are some ways not to roll fenders?
Well, from experience, not that I want to admit this on YouTube,
Yeah.
but I've actually tried the jack handle method. I had I think it was an 02 Lexus IS300 a long time ago.
Yeah.
Put some fairly aggressive wheels on it. They were rubbing, and just, it was, I mean, literally, like, if I had passengers in the back, you could see smoke.
Just pure tire, yeah.
It was bad. Jack handle method, and it just destroyed the lip.
Oh shit.
Paint was cracking off. I mean, it basically had to have both sides
Just refinish,
and
yeah.
redone. So
Holy crap.
but yeah, other janky ways, the phone book method.
Yep.
Roll over a baseball bat.
Yep.
I mean,
All
exhaust tubing.
yeah.
People have tried.
Anything round, basically, is what they're shoving in there, and they're trying to make this work. But a fender roller, right, is going to be the most legit way to do this.
Yep. So this thing has rolled a car or hundreds. It's definitely seen better days, but it still works.
Still works. Okay.
But yeah, so fender roller it's absolutely the best way to do it. I mean, there's no better way.
Yeah, and you were just showing me, so the Supra over here that he has behind him over here, so he was showing me the fenders on this. Those are rolled completely flat, right? Literally flat on the back side of the fender, but we may not have to do that with this, because when we were kind of examining, we can see that the actual fender lip actually kind of points down more of an angle rather than being straight flat across. So even if we can get that from being right here to about a 3/4 roll, we're already gonna have a ton more clearance, right? And we'll kind of see how it works.
You're not rubbing bad. You're not cutting into tires, so you're not rubbing bad. So
Yeah.
you can, obviously see the rub marks, but it's not. I've seen way worse. So,
Yeah. Basically, we're getting to it before it becomes a problem, because all it really takes is one major bump, right, to hit that fender lip. And for example, my brother's car, when we were running wider sets of wheels on his Mazda Speed, what ended up happening was the tire was actually catching the lip and yanking it back down, looking like bacon on the inside.
That happened to, so I bought the RX-7 from a friend of mine.
Yeah.
That actually happened on the rear fenders. So
No way.
We were out autocrossing.
Yeah.
Taking a turn really sharp, a little bit of body roll, and it actually grabbed the lip and pulled it down a little bit, and so ended up rolling his fenders too. So
Yeah.
And then I bought the car.
Then you bought the car. So yeah, so it basically you rolled it for yourself, way back when.
Without knowing it was gonna be mine too. Yeah.
That's how I like to look at it. Okay, so guys, we're gonna get the car jacked up. We're gonna get these wheels off, and I'm gonna show you a little bit closer of a look at what we're gonna be doing. So I'll see you guys in a second. All right, so we're ready to pull off this rubber molding here, and everybody says that this is an area that rust tends to happen. I've tried to explain this before in previous videos, but we don't really get the rust here in Idaho that other places get. So we just pulled it off the other side, no rust at all whatsoever. But in order to pull this off, what are we doing? Just pulling off this right here?
Yep. Pull straight.
Got a little bit of some glue in there, not a big deal. Get that off. And there you go. Now, for reference, I'll show you guys where I was rubbing. So there is, what do you call these, like metal clips?
Little springs.
Little springs here. So this is what actually holds this in place, right? So while, yes, it has glue on there, the springs are the number one thing holding those in place, and they clamp onto the lip. So that's pretty much all there is. So what I'm gonna do now is take just a towel here. I'm gonna try to clean up some of this glue, but it's kind of a pain because I didn't bring anything good. So I'm just gonna go like this. Just wipe that ring. All right, so now you want to wipe the inside of the fender, right?
So one thing that I've learned the hard way
Okay.
is make sure that the underside of the lip is clean. So in an old Evo that I had years ago, didn't really pay attention to that, and there was a small, tiny pebble up on the lip.
Okay.
And I rolled it flat, and the pebble poked out of the body.
Locked
Or,
in.
It didn't like push out of the
But
body,
you
there
could
was a little
see
dent.
it,
Yeah.
and that's in there. You're not going to be able to pull that. You could,
You'd have to
but
hammer that little piece
and
back.
it's going to be a pretty big nightmare. So now you're just going to kind of rub the inside of that lip, and we'll see
So,
what kind of
not,
stuff.
Not obviously a clean rag, but
Get a shop towel. Oh crap! There is a ton of stuff coming off of that. Holy shit! Yeah.
so always make sure that this is clean.
Yeah.
Like big chunks like that, definitely pull that off.
Yeah.
I'm just obsessive about making sure that it's clean before we
And
even
that's
get
why I
into this.
brought this to you, right? Because I was gonna say, if I really wanted this done jankily, I could have done this in my garage at 2 o'clock in the morning with with a fire extinguisher, right, or something round. But I want to do this.
Tree branch.
Wanted to do this the right way. And then one thing to point out here, so people ask me all the time, Anthony, why do you have a fender gap right here where your bumper is, where it meets this? This is all because this tab has been kind of pulled down a little bit, right? It's been kind of yanked down. So all I need to do is at some point in time, I'm gonna grab like a rubber mallet, take off that plastic tab, and just kind of bang it back up, and then put the clip back in, and that should bring that whole side of the bumper up. So that's an easy fix on how to fix those bumper gaps on Honda Civics as well. So, all right, so we got these cleaned up. So next up, we're gonna be heating things up and going from there. All right guys, so we're ready to begin. So we got the roller mounted to the hub. Now what we had to do, because there was minimal distance between the actual fender and the hub, we actually had to put a jack stand underneath and unbolt it from the coilover. So that gave us a little bit of a longer approach into this, so we could get the roller hit up to that lip there. So now Chris is just heating up this panel here. And so the idea is heat, right? And you want to keep consistent heat, right? You want to keep this thing going. You don't want to bubble the paint, but you want to get it to where this thing is warm enough to where it's pliable and it's not going to crack. And so I've already explained this earlier to you guys. So there's a risk in every time you roll fenders, and it's never going to turn out 100% every single job. There's always some type of variable with all this stuff. So the best way to approach it is by taking your time and going slow. And so the faster you try to do this and you try to get through it and just get it done, the more damage that can happen. And so I'm willing to take the risk that the paint could crack. Hopefully it's just on the inside lip, and if that does happen, I can hit it with touch-up paint. Some people do bed liner. There's a lot of different ways to touch it up.
Or super glue.
Super glue? Yeah, super glue, yeah. So when feeling it, you want it like, I think it's what, 140 degrees or something like that. So you want it to be,
You don't want it to burn your freaking fingers off.
but you want it to be warm.
You want it to be hot to the touch.
And so, because what it comes down to is for people that don't realize, when it comes to paint, right, you have your clear coat, you have your base coat, then you have your primer. You need to essentially heat up all 3 layers of that paint, right, to the point to where it's pliable.
Is you don't want to heat up just like the lip.
You want to
The
heat
goal
up.
is you want to hang it up. You want to heat like at an angle so it disperses as it comes. So you're
Correct.
heating up all of it. So I've seen
Yep.
guys that like heat up just the outside, and
That's not the way to do it.
yeah, it's not gonna help.
All right, we starting in? Is this happening?
Yep.
Oh man, okay. So for reference, guys, this isn't that exciting to watch, hence why there's probably not a whole lot of content on this, but it's a lot of going back and forth. And so I'm guessing when you're applying pressure, you're applying what, little to medium?
Yeah, for now. I mean, I'm not pulling pressure, I'm just winding it out. But
Yeah.
how most fenders and most cars work is they're not straight, right? They're slanted a little bit.
Yeah.
So as we go back and forth, we have to unwind and wind.
Gotcha,
To get to get the roller where we want it.
Gotcha.
We ran the first pass, and
Okay.
then already because the lip was kind of
Kind of downward, yeah.
right? So it's almost flat now.
Yeah.
But so the next phase is just bringing the head of the roller out a little bit,
Okay.
but a very minimal amount.
So don't overdo it, right? Because some people can go in at the wrong approach angle, right? They can go in at a super aggressive angle, and that way you're actually you're munching it and you're pushing that fender out technically, right?
Whereas if we go slow in steps,
Yeah.
it'll just bring it up.
Nice. Okay.
Slow and Slow and easy.
Slow and steady wins the race, right?
Harbor Freight's finest.
Yeah.
Shout out HF.
Fuck, I went from being super shitty to being super nice out.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, based on how well we were.
Yeah. Oh yeah, this one, the magic's starting to happen. So far, everything's going good.
Give it a feel.
Give it a feel.
So, see the distance?
Oh crap, no way. Holy smokes. You can't even tell from this distance right here, but we're already what? I would say,
We've already gone in, I don't know.
holy crap, that's a big difference. That already is, so for reference, guys, if this was hanging, let's just say down like this before, right? It's about right there, right? What'd you say about that?
I
Yeah.
mean, it was down a little bit, or I guess down a little bit, but it's probably about like that right now.
Nuts. So, and another thing too, so what I notice right now, because people are probably like, he's really heating this thing up, is that safe? Guys, when I felt that was just warm, right? So you'll find that these panels will cool down fast. So constant heat, and so would you say what? Probably you're working it for a couple minutes, right? Maybe 2 minutes, and then you're heating it back up?
I basically do, like I adjust the head and I do a couple passes with the head with that adjustment.
Yeah.
And then stop, heat it back up, readjust the head, do it again.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, we're talking between heat cycles, 2-3 minutes maybe.
Okay.
But I mean, because everybody's worried about, oh man, it's gonna melt the paint. I mean, think about cars in Phoenix in the middle of the summer.
Oh, those are getting 140, 150 degrees.
120 outside.
Yeah.
I mean,
Sun baking too, right? It's much hotter than that than people realize, right? So these cars, this paint and everything, when it comes to just automotive stuff in general, they can get that hot. It's not ideal for the cars, but they can get that hot. It's not going to completely destroy things, especially on a short period of time like we're doing here. All right, guys, so we just settled on an area to stop the roll where I think it's gonna be good. And so it's gonna be kind of hard to see under here, but I'm gonna kind of show you guys with the other camera. But this went from being down like this, right, to up like this. Because my car's not slammed, right? You have to think about it. I still have about an inch of gap with the wheel on, so I'm really just compensating for that travel there. So that travel being that if that tire is maxing out at about right here, right? Let's just say where the suspension's traveling, now that tire will be able to go even further up into this well before rubbing or causing any issues. And
we can always roll more too, right? So
yeah.
if it is still rubbing, no big deal. It's gonna be way less than it was, but you can always roll more. You can't roll less, right?
Yes,
so
correct.
Start in small increments. If you don't have to push the lip all the way to the side of the car, then
don't do it. Yeah.
There's no reason to push it if you can get by with less.
We're not starting from scratch next time we go to roll, right? If it needs to happen, right? Let's just say I lose my mind and I want to go super low and I want to slam this, I want to have some hot boy fitment, then let's just say we already have this roll already started, meaning we would just take off from where we left and finish out the rest of the area. But this is where I was rolling. This was the problem area, and now that's fixed. So now it's time to move on to the other side, because the other side is where I was rubbing the most. Chris is going to kind of show us the angle, the difference of the angle here.
So you can see that just how downwardly pointed
Correct.
the fender lip is.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's literally the complete opposite of where we were.
Yeah.
And more.
Yeah.
So we are starting to work on the driver's side of the car. We're heating this up pretty well. Everything's going good so far. I'm so pumped with how the passenger side turned out, so fingers crossed this turns out good. But we'll see. Like I said, every situation is different, and you just kind of have to be prepared for the risk, right?
Yeah. Every fender's different too. So, I mean, if there's ever been, you know,
Body work or anything like that's happened.
accident, whatever, it's like Carfax doesn't report everything. So
Yep.
there may have been something that's happened to this at one point. You never know.
And so I noticed what you did is you kind of started tapping around on the car, right? Because you want to kind of listen for that
Make sure
thud.
I'm having Bondo or filler. My probability of cracking paint is normally 10-20% most of the time. Your probability is going to go up to like 90. Like
Yeah, it's almost a for sure thing.
Yeah, it doesn't flex.
If you know you've had body work done, especially on the rear quarter towards this lower lip, go into it with extreme caution, right? A big way to tell is tap on the fender, tap on certain areas of the metal. If you hear a thud that does not sound like metal, right, then you know that there might be some Bondo under there. But biggest thing, look at your Carfax report. You know, try to know what kind of history your vehicle has had before attempting something like this for sure. So far, so good, right?
Yeah, it's going pretty smooth so far.
So yeah, so far, fingers crossed. So that's
Shit.
dude, my heart stopped. I was like, oh shit, did it happen?
So another thing to note, if you do have a fender roller, a lot of guys will just try to go ham really fast.
Yeah,
And literally I'm going maybe a quarter turn.
barely,
maybe
even less than that.
turn.
Yeah,
Tenth of a turn each time. So it's not like I'm going, you know, full blown the first shot. So it's, you know, again, slow and steady.
yeah. Well, because I know a lot of people, when you start looking up, you know, how to roll fenders or how to do this, right? Everybody says, well, just take it slow, right? And that's like the biggest takeaway. He's like, well, that's it. Just take it slow. And it's like, yes,
Nobody shows you how to take it slow.
yeah, take it slow, but also make sure your angle is correct.
Yeah, literally, this was the angle we were at.
Okay.
That's the angle we're going to.
Gotcha. Okay. So you're not attacking it, right? Because again, the more you adjust that angle downward, right, the more you're actually you're pulling the fender out, right? Yeah. And so for reference, I just felt that panel, right? And that panel was warm, right, but it was not hot. Right. So it just goes to show you that you have to take these breaks again for heat. You have to continually do this because literally within a minute it'll go back to being cold.
Yeah. Especially, I mean, garage door open. It's what, 58 degrees today.
Yeah.
It's not cold, it's not hot, but I mean, people in California could be like, that's freaking cold.
Yeah, yeah.
But here, you're in a t-shirt.
Yeah, dude.
Kind of sweating my ass off. But, like, it's not hot, it's not cold, but the panel does cool down rather quickly.
Rather quickly, yeah. Okay, so it's how do I explain this? It's not scalding hot. It's not scalding hot. It's like the best way to describe this would be it's warmer than your hot setting of your water at your home, right? So if you put on your hot water at home, it's warmer than that, right? But just slightly, not crazy. So I mean, you're probably sitting right around, 130 to 140 degrees max. You're not any hotter than that.
And don't sit there and like rest on one spot.
Correct.
That
Okay.
will
You're constantly moving it.
break the paint.
Now, so typically on a heat gun, right? You have your low setting, you have your high setting. Are you on the high setting?
Yeah, this low setting doesn't work.
Okay. All right. So we're going high.
High setting anyway.
Yeah.
Because it does heat it up faster.
Okay. Now, because I know people are going to want to know, what's the difference between rolling and pulling a fender?
So rolling, we're just rolling the lip
Okay.
up, right?
Yeah.
Pulling the fender is actually pulling the fender out. I mean, it's literally, the difference is exactly what it sounds like. You're pulling the fender outward to get more clearance.
Okay.
So depending on the car and who's doing it, what they're doing. I've actually seen some guys take the lip and pull it out. Instead of rolling it out, they pull it out so they get that extra lip, so they can flatten it out upwards to get, you know,
even more clearance.
Get a nice little lip over the wheel and tire.
Gotcha. Okay. And so when it comes to pulling fenders, obviously you need the fender lip rolled flat, correct?
Yeah, so that's the other option, right? Is you can roll it totally flat, and then you can continue to pull on it, but you're gonna buckle the body.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the only time I would ever pull a fender is if I knew the car was gonna go in for body work and, you know, paint afterwards.
Yep. We've matched the other side in terms of the angle, so Chris is gonna show the block here and show you that is the new angle right here, right? So if you remember, it was like up to there.
Yeah, it was like that a little bit.
Yeah.
So like that now.
Oh yeah, huge difference. And so that feels awesome. I have plenty more clearance there. Feels good. I'm super pumped on that. So I'll show you guys here on the other camera here, the after shots. All right, guys, so the Civic is officially done. The fenders are rolled to perfection. Chris, any advice for people wanting to tackle this for themselves?
Get a fender roller.
Okay.
Don't use a bat.
Okay.
Because that's just...
All right, check.
Actually, I see ads on Craigslist all the time of people, hey, I'll roll your fenders for $80 or $100.
Yeah.
So if you don't know how to do it, have somebody else do it, because
that has done it before, right?
Right.
Yeah. That's not practicing on your car, right?
Yeah. It's my first time. Yeah, I just bought this roller. Let's give it a shot.
Let's try it.
Yeah. You're gonna try it yourself. The fender roller that I have is an Eastwood.
Yeah.
So it's, what do we pay for that? Like $100 or $150.
But it's like an industry standard. Most people are using Eastwoods. Yeah.
Is kind of the one. Heat is important, as you showed. Like, you touch it and it cools down very quickly.
Yeah.
So make sure that the paint stays hot. Thankfully, we didn't crack any paint.
There wasn't,
I mean, there was a little bit of paint that rubbed off on the very edge of the lip.
Well, that's that's a blessing, if anything. I'm like that's it? Okay, cool.
Go slow.
Yep.
Don't get greedy.
Yep. Don't get greedy. Yeah.
Just like on yours, we didn't go flat. We didn't touch it to the body. We can.
Yeah.
But is there more of a chance of buckling? Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you definitely want to just do what you need to make sure it clears.
I think even we went overkill to where I'll be able to have either room to go lower if I want to go lower, or if I ever want to go with a wider wheel, I think I'll be able to make that fit, because again, we went more of a 3/4 roll, a little more than half between 3/4, and if anything, we kind of set me up in the future to have plenty of clearance, especially if I have somebody sitting in the back seat, because that's the worst, right? When you have somebody sitting in the back there and it starts rubbing. Yep, and you're like, well, that's not good, and they're like, what's that sound? I'm like, you're gonna need to get out now, because I can't drive you home.
We gotta pull over and redistribute the weight. Like, I need a fat person up front and all the skinny people in the back.
Cool, guys. All right, so here's the plan. So Chris is actually planning on creating a YouTube video going over all of his toys here in the future. So, I mean, he's got a couple Supras, he's got the RX-7, he's got the Evo, he's got the GTR, he's got the Lexus GS 300 on the lift there. So he's got a couple really cool projects, and this is all stuff that's always going to be a work in progress for him because he loves working on cars. So check out Idaho Motorsports on YouTube. Again, he's going to be creating an account there, so go give him some love, go subscribe to the channel, because there will be future content, and I will be coming here to film some future videos. In the meantime, you can also check out Idaho Motorsports on Instagram, and that'll be the place to follow. Again, a lot of more of these toys, and then anything Idaho Motorsports related, because he autocrosses, he does a lot of stuff here in the local car community, so you'll be able to stay up to date on that. So Chris, thanks again, thanks so much. I'm so pumped my fenders are rolled. So anyways, guys, if you liked this video and you felt like you learned something, make sure you give me a big thumbs up, subscribe down below for more, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. It's all Anthony. Peace.